Next, I'd like to call up Senate Concurrent Resolution 6 for its first hearing. Senator Koehler, welcome to committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's good to see you today. Vice Chair Brenner, Ranking Member Weinstein, members of the Senate Oversight and Reform Committee, thank you for allowing me to give testimony on Senate Concurrent Resolution 6. Every year, twice a year for the last 10 years, I've heard from my constituents about one issue over and over: stop the changing of the clocks twice a year. This simple request comes from so many people in my district and possibly yours, but including, most important, the constituent I respect the most in my district, my wife. Senate Concurrent Resolution 6 does one very simple thing. It asks Congress to support the Sunshine Protection Act of 2025. The bill currently introduced in the 119th Congress would make daylight savings time permanent across the country in each of the appropriate time zones. You will find as we discuss this resolution, there are two sides of the argument. Some constituents will want the United States and Ohio to stay on standard time, which we observe from mid-November until March. Others will want us to change our clocks to daylight savings time, which we will move to in March, coming up soon, and will remain there until November. However, both sides agree on one thing: simply stop changing the clocks twice a year. I'm not here to argue against one reason or the other for staying on daylight savings time or standard times. I'm here to say that in 2025, we need to stop thinking that cutting off the top of a blanket and adding it to the bottom somehow changes the length of the blanket. No matter what we do, there will still be 24 hours in each day and so much sunshine depending upon the seasons of the year. I'm certain that because we have been observing daylight savings time for most of our lifetime, or at least my lifetime, very few of us remember spring, summer, and fall under standard time, which we haven't observed in many, many years. Few of us remember a June where the sun rises at 5 a.m. and sets very early in the evening. If we abandon daylight savings time permanently, that will be our new reality throughout the summer. Studies clearly show that moving our clocks forward in spring and back in the fall causes a number of work-related issues and sleep-related issues. Moving to daylight savings time year-round will allow for more lights in the evening during the winter months. Studies show that more daylight in the evening results in fewer car crashes and pedestrian accidents. It reduces the number of robberies by 27%. Continuing to change the time results in a number of increase in the number of cardiac issues, strokes, and prolonged seasonal depression. More daylight in the evenings increases physical activity and reduces childhood obesity. Again, doing any of this doesn't increase the amount of daylight each day during the seasons, it just shifts it permanently. One of the best arguments for not changing the clocks came to me from a school superintendent over 2 years ago. The legislation had just passed House Bill 67, a law to reduce the impact of end-of-year tests in Ohio. These tests were scheduled to begin the third week of March of that year. These are high-impact end-of-year tests, yet when do we change the clocks and disrupt the sleep pattern of students? The first week in March. This is 2025. We need to stop doing this to our children and our students. For the first time in many years, the new administration in D.C. has signaled that they also support stopping the craziness of changing our clocks 2 times a year. Dozens of states and general assemblies like Arkansas, Alabama, California, Delaware, Georgia, Idaho, Louisiana, Maine, Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming have all passed laws or resolutions or voter initiatives for permanent daylight savings time. I'm asking this committee to once again pass the concurrent Resolution 6 that we have done in previous GAs. Thank you for allowing me to testify. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Senator Koehler, and again, thank you for your flexibility with our agenda change. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Vice Chair Brenner.
Thank you. Senator Koehler. Have you considered just having Ohio change it permanently to daylight savings time?
Madam Chair, and to the Senator, it is, as I understand it, we are not allowed as a state to go to daylight savings time permanently, that is somehow controlled by federal law. We can choose to go to standard time permanently, but as I understand it, we cannot go to daylight savings times permanently.
Can I follow up?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could we just then have it identify as Eastern Standard Time, but spring everything forward and make it permanent?
Say that again. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, could you say that again, Senator?
I'm kind of giving a Gulf of America kind of an answer or question. Could we just then identify Eastern Standard Time as 1 hour forward and then just make it permanent in Ohio?
To the chair and to the senator, I don't know if that's possible. But again, if somebody wants, if I had my druthers, I would pick a half hour between the two times, pick that for the United States and each of the time zones and stick with that. That way nobody will argue about whether daylight savings time or standard time is better or worse.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Senator Johnson?
Yes, Chairwoman, just a comment, if I may. Thanks for bringing this. I think since I've been in the legislature, which was 2011, I came into the House, we've always been hammering at this. Right. And of course, it's a federal thing and massively complicated for businesses. And, it's not as easy as it looks. But I'm one of those people that dreads, the change of the clock. When we go into the spring, it hurts me more. When we go into the fall, I benefit.
Right.
So circadian rhythms, are something that's a biologic reality, and whipsawing it back and forth is very difficult. Right. I really hope that we can gain the attention of Congress on this, but I think they've been struggling with it like we are, and their force is greater than logic. And I really appreciate Vice Chairman Brenner's approach to this. Sometimes I just think that the people's logic needs to prevail in these matters, and I think if enough people get ticked off about this and raise a big enough ruckus, maybe that's the only way we're going to achieve this.
Madam Chair, to the Senator, you mentioned biological rhythms, and you will get emails from your constituents saying we can't go to daylight savings time permanently because it'll mess up people's biological rhythms. And I always think when I receive those emails, I respect them, but at the same time, I hope they never move from Ohio to California, because they will get up at 3 hours earlier or 3 hours later, no matter what happens with their rhythm. So I think some of those folks think that once we're born in Ohio, we have to live in Ohio the rest of our lives. I would like folks that are born in other states to come to Ohio. So,
Are there any additional questions for the sponsor? Senator O'Brien?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can tell you anytime any of my constituents bring this up, they're always on our side here. They say, can't we stop doing that? And as a past teacher, you're absolutely correct. It not only affects the students, it affects the teachers. And isn't this based on the fact that years and years ago, we were an agrarian society, mainly farmers, and they needed to have as much daylight as possible.
right. Madam Chair, to the Senator, there are a lot of arguments about why we started daylight savings time. It has to do with our agricultural background. At the same time, this is 2025. We are a digital world today. We live in a society that's controlled by computers and working at home, and we can adjust. But the fact of the matter is, we are doing this to ourselves over and over, and as you mentioned, to children. The superintendents that I talk to say this is just horrible, that on March 9th of this year, we will change our clocks, kids will have to get up an hour earlier, and then 2 weeks later, we're going to start giving them high-impact tests. You are so right. We need to stop doing this to our children.
Are there any additional questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony today. That concludes the first hearing on Senate Concurrent Resolution number 6.